Well, it's not about Chinese developers offloading their portfolios in Nine Elms at eye-watering losses, and I really have to pick up on the Building Safety Act that received royal assent last week. The Building Safety Act came as a response to the Grenfell Tower tragedy where 72 people died. It was followed up by a report by Dame Judith Hackett, who found some systemic failings in the construction industry, and following on from the look at cladding, it was also discovered major quality issues around the quality of recently built high-risk residential and other high-risk buildings. The end result is a lot of buildings have been deemed unsafe with respect to fire safety. Now, unfortunately, until that remediation is done, getting mortgage on such flats is sort of near impossible and making them unsellable. You probably know people in that position. You'll probably may even be a victim yourself. And under typical leasehold contracts, leaseholders are responsible for all the costs that arise, whether it's interim mitigation, such as working watch, increased insurance premiums, and of course the remediation costs themselves. And these have been eye-watering, and it's caused an immense amount of stress and anxiety for people. And again, particularly a lot of people in this group are young professionals whose careers have been threatened with bankruptcy. So this is a calamity, and people were just guilty of buying a leasehold flat. So real human stories around this, and it's not just a technical issue around building safety. And there are hundreds of thousands of people caught up in this looking for a clear way forward. Now, the Building Safety Act 2022 reverses the last 40 years of deregulation, and it's a bit of a monster. And there are a couple of features around it. The biggest is a new building safety regulator operating under the Health and Safety Executive. And any developer will have to satisfy this regulator before construction can commence. There's a few things that they're responsible for: mandatory registration of building inspectors and building control approvers, as well as all buildings, occupied high-risk buildings being registered with the Building Safety Regulator as well. One of the big problems has been that nobody knows what's being built and what the building stock is. And also the regulator is going to be responsible for ensuring that the industry is competent to do its job. It may seem strange, but that's the state of the construction industry at the moment. Another element of regulation is a consumer products regulator with the power to remove products from the market. And the third is a new home ombudsman, which all house builders will have to join to build homes. So they are some of the key elements that will affect the industry. The legislation also sought to provide a series of protections for leaseholders and home buyers, including a retrospective right to sue developers for defective works up to 30 years after a home is completed, which is quite something. There are other measures to shield leaseholders as well, including making developers and cladding manufacturers pay for the brunt of the costs that are coming up. And where they don't have funds, or the liability passes to the building owner. Regrettably, a lot of the relief is only available to buildings over 11 metres high. And also, if leaseholders have already paid to have their buildings fixed, they won't get any money back, nor will buy-to-let leaseholders with more than 3 properties. So what the government has come out with is not perfect. And I'm sure, in a couple of Parliament's time, that will all change. So in addition to making builders pay for their own faults, they're also raising funds through a building safety levy and a property developers tax, which should help cover some of the orphan buildings where there's no one to chase up but the leaseholder. So along with this, the new home ombudsman extended the period to make claims from 6 years to 15 years. It's going to have a substantial change on the construction industry and how it will operate in the future, whether it's from the boardroom all the way down to the site. And even devices used to limit liability, such as special purpose vehicles for developments, won't provide that protection in the future, because there'll always be a route back to the eventual owners, the holding companies and what have you. And I think it's fair to say that, the government have really, got their eye on making sure that construction does things well. The reason we build is simple. We build to improve the quality of life. Construction and property sector has clearly failed in doing that. And I hope the Building Safety Act should raise the bar in terms of future performance for the industry. And the level of regulation, I think, reflects the historical breach of trust, although the Act does fall short in providing a complete resolution for those leaseholders caught up in this. Now, it's going to take years to put this right, probably over a decade. Lives will stay on hold till things get done. The construction industry will complain, quibble at every chance they get and say how unfair it is. But just remember, this isn't a quick fix. And it's 4 years and 11 months since the Grenfell fire when 72 people died.